Okay, so end of Squid Games, spoilers, duh. Jun-ho is running from the frontman and all his guards on the island and gets cornered by the edge of a cliff, only for the frontman to walk up and reveal to Jun-ho that he's his long-lost brother. He's completely in shock and he can't say anything except ask why. The frontman shoots him in the chest and Jun-ho falls backwards over the cliff and into the water where he is left for dead. But, rewind real quick, the frontman is one of the most calculated people in the entire show. He was able to figure out what type of gun Jun-ho was carrying and also figure out based on Korean police protocol that out of the 5 bullets he could have in his gun, one of the slots was empty, one was a blank, and he could recall where the other 2 bullets were used. He knew he only had 1 bullet left. You're telling me that someone that calculated with that much attention to detail just accidentally shoots someone he was supposed to kill on the very edge of their shoulder? You know what? If you look at it closely, it almost looks like it was a calculated shot and he meant to shoot him on his shoulder to give him a backward spin so he landed in the water and had the best chance of survival. And they didn't even go down to finish off the job. They couldn't. He wasn't on the beach. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at how Jun-ho survived his death in Squid Games and how he's going to return in season 2. This was honestly one of my favorite characters, and if they didn't bring him back, it would be a crime. I would give anything to see Gi-hun team up with Jun-ho in season 2 to go back to the Squid Games and try to overthrow the VIPs. I've got a lot of theories for this show that I really want to make videos on, so please let me know in the comments if you enjoy these videos so I know to do more, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Only 8% of the people watching this video right now are actually subscribed. That's crazy. It's completely free and it really helps me out. If you enjoy the video, please consider subscribing. I'll be back each week with new videos on your favorite movies and TV shows that you're not going to want to miss. And just maybe, if we get to see Jun-ho come back for season 2, we will get the answer to the very biggest mystery of the entire show. How on earth his phone battery lasted so long? The man was gone for at least a week and his phone didn't die even once. Some questions we just need answers to, and next on the list is how he survived his death. Watching this show for the first time, I can remember how intrigued I was by the frontman, and I just wanted to know who he was and what he did to oversee the Squid Games. I really wanted to know more of his backstory. And Jun-ho honestly might have been one of the most lovable characters in the entire show. His mission in the beginning of the show was to find out what happened to his long-lost brother, and then he found a connection with Gi-hun when he bumped into him at the police station and he had the same business card that he found at his brother's old place. As he started to investigate and uncover the demented games going on at this abandoned island, his priorities slowly turned into staying alive and figuring out what the heck was going on here, just long enough to document it and escape to bring reinforcements and shut everything down. Just in the time that he was there, over 400 people were murdered, and after he goes digging, he learns that they've been holding these annual games since 1988. That's 32 different games they've held, and even if they've only killed an average of 400 people each year, that's still over 13,000 different people that they've killed while playing these games. And you thought Hunger Games was bad. Each Hunger Games, 2 people from each of the 13 districts compete, adding up to a total of 26 people each year, 25 of which die by the end of each game. For Hunger Games to kill off as many people as the Squid Games do, they would have to host 520 Hunger Games. Over 500 years of Hunger Games to equal the deaths from the Squid Game. That's insane. So now, his quest to find his long-lost brother and see what the connection is with these business cards has turned into this huge undercover sting operation exposing this massive corporation running illegal survival games each year. We saw him collect a lot of evidence and get so close to succeeding in his mission, only just to be within arm's reach before being stopped dead in his tracks by none other than his long-lost brother. But if there's one thing we know, it's if a character isn't killed on screen, are they really even killed at all? Look at Il-nam. I was so sure that they literally shot him after the marble game, only for him to reappear 4 episodes later, and it turns out that he was the one that created the entire Squid Games 32 years ago. There is no telling if a character is actually dead if they don't show it on screen. And this is why we can say with almost certainty that Jun-ho is still alive. He fell off a cliff into the water, which is another good indicator that he's still alive. Netflix literally just did this with Chris Hemsworth in Extraction. At the end of the movie, spoilers, duh, he takes a bullet to the back of the neck and falls over the bridge into the river below for his death scene. That's the last we see of him. He's bloody, he's beaten, he's bruised, he's definitely dead as he sinks to the bottom of the river, right? Wrong. The movie was so awesome and it made so much money that they're going to make a second one. So the trailer is literally his death scene followed up by his unconscious body underwater, where we see his eyes pop open and an air bubble comes out before he swims to the surface. Surprise! He's alive. Just like Jun-ho will be in Squid Game Season 2. I was so happy to see that Jun-ho was following up with Squid Games and it wasn't just going completely unnoticed, because when we saw all the contestants leave the games and try to go to the police for help, saying that they killed 200 plus people in a game of red light, green light, the police just laughed and didn't believe them. It was only because Gi-hun had the same business card that Jun-ho's brother did at his apartment when he went missing. Because if you remember, when Jun-ho was going through all the frontman's files, he discovered that his brother actually won the Squid Games in 2015. Which means he went missing 6 years ago. But unlike Gi-hun, who returns to his life after he wins the games, it looks like Jun-ho's brother never returned home. I don't know if he was worried about spending any of his money he won because it was blood money and all his friends that he made along the way died for him to get it, or maybe Il-nam made him a more generous offer after he won and saw his potential as someone who could help him run the games and manage everything. And that's why he never came home to his family and he just stayed on the island and ran the next 6 games. But that never stopped Jun-ho from looking for him. He was able to uncover something much larger than just the missing case of his brother. I was a little shocked at how ruthless he was though, because at the end of the day, he's a policeman, right? He's a detective. He's supposed to be following the law. He literally finds the smallest possible connection, and as he's following it up, the first thing he does is kill someone. Yeah, remember when he first snuck on board the ship? He was in the vans looking around when the guards came down to log all the players back in, so he just played dead so they'd think he was a player. And then when the guard got to Jun-ho, he choked him out until he was unconscious, stripped him of his clothes, and then dumped him in the ocean. At this point, all that he knew was there was a bunch of vans getting loaded onto the ship full of unconscious people that was somehow related to his brother going missing, so he decides to kill a young guard to continue his investigation. That's pretty brutal. So what's the deal with the frontman? He takes off the mask for the first time so he can look upon his brother face to face for the first time. And as soon as he took off the mask, I knew Jun-ho had to die. No one can see their faces and live. But why? Everyone knows who the players are, and the frontman was literally a player at one point who won the games. Surely if any guards have been working these games since 2015, they probably know who the frontman is. I highly doubt that they switch out the guards each year. That'd be way too many new people to introduce to such a high-functioning organization like this. I think there's a pretty good chance that this was Il-nam's first time competing in the games alongside the other players, so it would have been really hard for him to form a bond with the frontman while he was competing, kind of like Il-nam and Gi-hun formed a bond while they were playing together. At best, Il-nam might have just been impressed with his leadership skills throughout the games and saw potential in him to help him with his organization. But why the secrecy? There's some guards who watch over the other guards in their cells to make sure everything's okay and they're not doing anything they shouldn't, so those workers know the identities and they don't kill them. What's the big deal? Is it just so the players don't see who the guards are, just in case they actually know one of them? I don't know. I feel like we'll learn more about this in Season 2 as we follow Gi-hun going back to explore the games and trying to stop them. It'd be kind of hard to do anything but this for Season 2, but I think at some point it would be really cool if we got to see some of the older games, especially the one where the frontman ends up winning. He's such an amazing actor. I would love to see him as he competed in the games, even though we know he would win in the end. I think they could still put a lot of crazy twists and turns in that season to help keep us entertained. Season 2 will most likely be Gi-hun going back to overthrow the games and prevent more people from getting sucked into these demented human horse races. I was also really looking forward to them possibly revealing Il-nam was Gi-hun's father, but it just wouldn't make much sense here now that he's dead, unless they juked us a second time and he's actually still alive. Could you imagine? No, but for real, I just can't wait to see Jun-ho back in action. He was easily one of my favorite characters from the show, and I just want to see him succeed and get the evidence back to his chief and raid the games and free all the players. But when it cuts to a year later at the end of the season and it shows Gi-hun getting an invite to go see Il-nam, nothing has changed. Even after the fact, when Gi-hun is on his way to the States, he passes the same guy that stopped him 1 year ago in the subway recruiting more players for the games. This means that we can assume Jun-ho never survived and his evidence never made it back to the police and the games are still going on as scheduled. But just think, maybe this whole time Jun-ho survived and made it back to mainland and they're planning a huge sting operation once the games start up again. Maybe the facilities are empty year-round until the next games. Because there's no way that Jun-ho actually died, but I don't even know if his brother was going to kill him in the first place, because when he first walked up to him, he told Jun-ho to lower the gun and he might spare his life. And at the Squid Games, they don't think twice about killing anyone. This is the first time the frontman actually seems like he doesn't want to kill somebody. He paid attention to so many details that he knew Jun-ho only had one bullet left in his gun and tried to reason with him to come quietly so he could live. This was almost like a Vader moment to me of join me or die. No doubt if Jun-ho came with him, they might have just turned him into a guard and drugged him up like the other kid we saw earlier, and he would just become a worker like everyone else. There's a slight chance that he could have been a higher up or helped run the games, but he stood his ground and ended up shooting the front man. Which, even after being shot, the frontman still held out his hand and gave him a second chance to live and come quietly. Then he takes off his mask and reveals his identity and asks him for a third time to join him so he doesn't die. Jun-ho is in complete shock right now. First of all, it's his missing brother. Second of all, he just shot his missing brother. And he's just so confused about the games and everything that's going on. He just has so many questions he can't even think straight. He just asks why. And then his brother shoots him. And just from how much we know the frontman pays attention, I'm sure while he played the games, he paid extreme attention to detail to the point where Il-nam and the other game runners came to him with an offer to help them run the games. His job is to literally look at the tiny details and make sure everything runs smoothly. Even with the bullets, he knew what gun Jun-ho was using, the standard police practice of having a blank and one slot empty, and he could even account for the other 2 bullets that he did use. He was able to deduct all of that and still try to calmly reason with him. My guess is that he took a calculated shot. Look closely. He hit him so far on his left shoulder that the bullet would spin him around and let him fall backwards into the water below where he could have the best chance of surviving and the other guards wouldn't suspect anything. I think he shot him in the shoulder on purpose to help him fall into the water and make it look like he died. I don't think the frontman intended on killing him. I think he knows what he was doing. That dead stare that Jun-ho has after he gets shot is not from him being dead. It's more of a shock of everything that's going on and he has no idea what to think right now and his brain just can't function. His brother looks over the cliff to make sure he fell in the water and then he continues to act calmly and put his mask back on and go right to work. Later, when we see him dressing his own wound and pulling the bullet out of his shoulder, we see him look in the mirror and have a flashback with his brother holding his shoulder where he shot him. He definitely still cares about him. He was just doing his job. And if he chose to spare his life, it would be suspicious and could endanger both of them. I really enjoyed this show and I really want to make more videos on it. So please let me know if you like these videos so I can know to do more or not. Go comment down below how you think Jun-ho survived his death and I'll be reading the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and turn post notifications on. And until next time, I will see you in the comments. Peace.